What's going on, you guys? Pet Platypus here, and it's time to bring you guys a Halloween-themed video. Kinda. I'm going to be talking about Batman the Animated Series, because what superhero represents Halloween better than Batman? Now granted, there's like a billion superheroes, so maybe there's a Captain Halloween out there, but fuck that guy, we're talking about Batman. With villains like the Scarecrow, and the Joker, and Man-Bat, who obviously took inspiration from the werewolf. There's a lot of Halloween influence in Batman as a character, so I thought it was the perfect cartoon series to discuss in my Halloween month. So we're going to break things down into a couple of categories. I'm going to talk about the setting of the show, give a basic setup of the story, which shouldn't take too long because it's fucking Batman. You know, talk about the atmosphere, talk about the characters and some of the storylines and things I like about the series that I think stand out compared to other cartoons, and, you know, the animation and the technicals, and we'll call it a video. So, let's get started. Oh, sorry about that weird backwards message. Anyways, let's talk about Batman. So I'm talking about the setup for this story and the setting that it takes place in and the atmosphere. It's pretty simple. It's Batman. Bruce Wayne as a child is orphaned when his parents are killed by a criminal. When he grows up, he takes on his fear of a bat and dresses up, goes out, fights crime, strikes fear in the hearts of the criminals of Gotham, and he's the vengeance, he is the night, he's the Dark Knight, he's Batman. You know all that already. This version of Gotham, it's the Gotham you've seen in a lot of variations of Batman. You know, it has the supervillains, but at the same time it does have just regular criminals, mob bosses, paying off lawyers and cops, and, you know, getting back on the streets and continuing their crimes. You know, the stuff you've seen in other variations of Batman, but this version of the city itself I really like. I like the way the buildings are drawn, the overall just gothic feel maybe, or just a dark feel that everything has around it, with the dark buildings and the dark sky. It's almost always at night. It's just cool. It's a very cool looking setting. It looks very nice. It has a lot of good atmosphere. Very badass. Very, very fitting of Batman. So what do I think of the setting and the setup for the story and everything? I mean, it's Batman. The story is great. His origin is, you know, perfectly fine. And then you've got the setting and everything, which I really, really love. So I definitely give those high praise. I guess I can move on to talking about the characters. Like I said, setting an atmosphere and setup for the story would not take too long. When talking about the characters, you have Bruce Wayne. You know the basic story of Bruce Wayne, but he's handled really well in this story. He's a Batman that isn't afraid to, you know, crack a joke every once in a while. He's not like Spider-Man or anything, but I like that he'll inject some humor. He has an attitude. He's not just dark and brooding and serious all the time, like, I am the Dark Knight. Like, he has that aspect to him, but when he gets, like, into intimidation mode, he's legitimately intimidating. He has really great lines of dialogue, one-liners if you want to call them that. He's just really well handled. He's really, you see flashbacks of when he learned how to, like, become an escape artist. You see flashbacks of how he became a martial artist, and how he, like, assumed fake names while doing those things, all in preparation of becoming Batman. Very good detail there. Very good way of fleshing out his character with different people that he's met over the years. A martial arts rival, an old woman that he had, like, a girlfriend when he was learning to be an escape artist. Very, very, very interesting stuff. Very well-handled character. The way he kind of blames himself for certain things with, like, the villains and everything. Just superb character development, superb characterization. He's very well fleshed out. But that's the main character. How are the rest of the characters fleshed out? Robin is pretty good. He gets a couple of characters, excuse me. He gets a couple of episodes to flesh out his character, and he's pretty good. We see that he goes to college and everything, so he's not just, you know, living with Batman all the time. But there's really not much else to say about Robin. He's just kind of there sometimes. That's actually one of the flaws with the series that I'll get into when I talk about some of the flaws, but him himself, Robin, he's fairly well handled. He could have been really annoying, and he's not, so that's good. You have your side characters like Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Bullock and a couple of others, but none of them really get a ton of character development. They're still good characters, and they're still well handled. Commissioner Gordon's almost always awesome, but yeah. But the villains are very interesting, because one villain in particular, it's a two-parter, it's Two-Face. When you get this far, I think it's pretty early in the first season, like maybe halfway through, like 10 episodes, I could be wrong. But when you get to the Two-Face two-parter, which I'm now realizing how ironic that is, they probably did that on purpose, you really see what this show's made of, because Two-Face, we see Harvey Dent early on. He's there, he's cool, he's, hanging out with Bruce Wayne, they're best friends. Maybe not best friends, but they're close friends, but he's Harvey Dent, he'll become Two-Face, so even though he's going to go down this dark path, you still feel the friendship between the two of them, and you're just thinking like, oh man, this is going to really suck, he's got a fiance. They really set up his character well, and the episodes where he changes into Two-Face, they're just some of the best in the series. The scene where lightning strikes and you see the Two-Face for just a split second, his split personality, he's just handled so well. In my opinion, I can get shit for this, I think he's handled in this show better than he's handled in the Dark Knight movie. I think he's handled way better in this show than he is in the Dark Knight movie. Personally, you want to flame me or disagree with me, that's totally fine. But I think this entire show is better than the Dark Knight entire trilogy, but whatever. Him specifically, though, he's very, very well handled. I spent a little bit more time on Two-Face than I expected, so I guess I'll just discuss a couple of other villains. Just to give, credit where credit is due, characters like Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, they're good. And there's a couple other really well-handled villains, but the ones I want to talk about specifically are characters like the Joker, of course. What do I think of the Joker? It's Mark Hamill's Joker. There's really no beating this guy as the Joker. He's funny, he's charismatic, he can get mad, he can have different ranges of emotions, he's not just... Because that's one of the things, even though I love Heath Ledger's Joker, and I don't really think this is a flaw with his Joker at all, it's just nothing phases him. He doesn't let anything bother him, everything's part of the plan, he doesn't really get mad. I like a Joker that can. I like a Joker that can break the smile and be like, alright, Batman, you just pissed me off, because it's kind of scary that way. It's scary that he has, it's scary when it's Heath Ledger and he has, no range of emotion and you really can't crack this guy, but when you can crack him, and then he goes to greater lengths to do evil things, to kill Batman, I think that's very interesting, and, yeah, it's just a really good Joker. Like I said, he's hilarious. It's Mark Hamill's Joker, there's really not much else to say. Another character I want to talk about, because this character used to be exclusive to this show, and that's Harley Quinn. For those of you who don't know, Harley Quinn was never a comic book character. Now she is, but before, she was invented by this show, and for a character invented for this show, she's really well handled. She's got good character development. Her origin story of how she became the Joker's henchman is an episode I have not reached yet. I haven't finished the entire story yet, but I do know the basic gist of how she becomes the Joker's henchman and his girlfriend / abusive relationship partner. And it's a good storyline, and she's just a really well-handled character. You'd think the voice would be annoying, but it's really fun. She's a really fun character, and she's really well-handled, really well fleshed out. And, that pretty much sums up the exclusive characters to the show. There's other one-off villains, maybe, and, a couple other things, but, yeah, that's pretty much all the characters I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, the characters get an A+, great cast of characters. So, moving on. When talking about the storyline of the series, the actual plot, there's really not too much to say because it is an episodic structure. There are two-parters and there are storylines that come back later. So, there is continuity here, but it is an episodic structure. It's not like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you'll have, multiple episodes leading into the next one and everything. It's not that structure. Well, Avatar wasn't episodic, but each episode was a kind of its own contained storyline. This is similar, but a bit more on the side of being more episodic. But it's cool. It's well handled, and I think it fits Batman more than having like an ongoing story with like one main villain. That works for like an Arkham Asylum video game and everything, but like the Joker's the ringleader in Arkham, and you fight all the other villains. But with this, I think this is a good structure, and the two-parters are very nice. So there's really not much else to say storyline-wise. It's just a really good episodic structure with good continuity. So, yeah, really not much to say there, but it's definitely worth mentioning when reviewing the overall series. So that gets an A+ as well. The first thing you have to mention when talking about what makes this show so unique or better than other kids' shows, things it did that were very interesting, were what you really have to talk about is how adult this series is when you've got like these mob bosses trying to get Harvey Dent to, they're trying to blackmail him, and they're like, hey, we'll put some money in your pocket, you let some of our guys go free. It's like, what kid cares about lawyers and district attorneys and paying them off and all the logistics of this? It's just so very adult and very interesting. And then you've got an episode where this dad has to see his son who's like on drugs in like a rehab place, and it's just like really heavy stuff, very adult themes that are very dark, and just it doesn't water down Batman. I mean, the most watered down thing about this show is that there's not a lot of blood, but I mean it's still occasionally there, and honestly, who cares? I mean, Batman's not really known for being super gory or anything, so I don't really think that matters. It's just so well executed. Like I said, it's really just not watered down in the slightest. Characters die, shit happens. It has really dark episodes. It's just really good. Adults can enjoy. Obviously, I mean, I can enjoy cartoons, just in general. But this show, I feel like, even if someone who does not really a fan of cartoons watched it, they'd be like, no, this is really good Batman storytelling. It doesn't matter if it's animated. This is fantastic Batman right here. But it's not without its flaws, and that's a pretty good segue to talk about the flaws of the show. Villains do capture Batman occasionally, and they choose not to take off his mask. Ever. Joker doesn't do it, which kind of makes sense, but he's been captured by other villains. They don't take off his mask. He has had his mask taken off a couple times by characters when he's knocked unconscious, but for some reason, when he's captured in chains, they don't just take off the mask to see who he is. That's kind of sloppy. Another problem would be the absence of Robin. He's there, he exists, he's in a few episodes, but for the majority of Season 1, he's never mentioned. Occasionally he's mentioned, but like I guess he's busy with his college stuff or something, because when Batman's in trouble, he could be like, hey Robin, come get me, or if Batman needs to be like in two places at once, or he needs backup, he's like, hey Robin, come help me out, but he doesn't. He's just like on his own for a majority of Season 1, and then going into Season 2, he has more, episodes with Robin, but it's still just like some of the episodes where it's just like, you could use Robin's help right now. You don't get it, like Robin doesn't exist. It's just, those aspects are kind of weak. So, yeah, but there's really not a lot of flaws. I mean, yeah, that happens a lot where the villains don't take off his mask, and, there's other there's the moments with Robin, but other than that, there's really not a lot of flaws. Like, at all. I mean, it's got great foreshadowing, it's got great character introductions, just, it does a million things right, and it has a couple of problems, so Batman the Animated Series is amazing. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. I haven't even finished it, and I'm giving it this high a praise. It's easily a 10 out of 10 overall series, unless it goes off the deep end and gets super shitty going forward from where I'm at. It's an amazing series, and it's a 10 out of 10, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'll definitely be interested to see what happens when I get to around like Season 4, where it starts to cross over with other DC characters like Superman. That'll definitely be interesting. The art style changes, but it's all the same voice actors. That'll be fun, but just the initial Batman the Animated Series, from what I've seen of it, it's fantastic. I don't even have to finish it to tell you guys. Check it out if you're a fan of Batman. DC does animation really, really well. They honestly do. I've only seen bits and pieces of other things like Justice League and like Superman the Animated Series. I've seen enough to tell that they're very, very good, but I do want to like really get into those stories. So maybe I'll talk about them in the future. But for now, for Halloween, I wanted to talk about the superhero that strikes fear in the night, Batman. So, thanks for watching this video. Tell me what you guys think of Batman the Animated Series in the comment section below. Did this video help you want to check out the series? What are your thoughts on it if you have seen it? And yeah, I hope to be doing a couple more videos like this talking about, you know, Halloween-ish or just paranormal shows in the future every Saturday leading up to Halloween itself. So look forward to that. Give this video a thumbs up, that would help me out a lot. Follow me on Instagram, I post things there sometimes. Subscribe if you haven't already or if you like what you've seen here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.